246 commercial burglaries, 4 acts of graffiti, 154 vandalisms. In total, 429 arrests have been made. Some of the arrests involve multiple offenders within the same incident or for the same incident. That number will continue to grow as processing of arrested persons continues. In addition, as you see, the map also shows the 21 shooting victims police responded to. Many of you inquired about the residency of the persons arrested this weekend. We are still compiling that data, but preliminarily I can report the following regarding CVNs for summary offenses. Amongst failure to disperse, defendants living in the city, 1. Defendants outside the city, 46. Unknown, 29. Without an address, 1. For curfews, defendants living in the city, 133. Defendants living outside, 27. And then 1 unknown. Regarding injuries to police officers, we have 18 injured officers, 2 of whom remain hospitalized. Injuries range from chemical burns, head injuries, and broken bones. Today, we anticipate more protest activity in Center City. We will continue to restrict access to various areas of Center City in some fashion, and our curfew restrictions will begin at 6 p.m. again. We have also received assistance from the National Guard, as you've seen, and other partner law enforcement agencies. We will have additional information to provide later today. Thank you. We'll now open it up for questions.
Commissioner Outlaw, some have been critical of the preparedness with regard to what happened on Saturday and Sunday. If you could change how you guys prepared for possible protests and violence, what would you do?
So I've been asked this question. I was asked it yesterday, and I provided a response then. Each day has been completely different. So while we don't have a crystal ball, I will tell you this. For those of us who have been dealing with protests, whether they're peaceful or, from my past, not peaceful, with burning and looting, so on and so forth, what you're seeing across the country right now is unlike any of us have seen. We have been sitting on a powder keg for quite some time, and it has burst. You layer that with a level of the anger that's been pent up, and then you add technology. You add the fact that the way we've been doing crowd management or crowd control, whatever you want to call it, for the last several years, we'll now have to adapt as those who come out and protest and demonstrate have adapted. They have counter tactics, they have gone dark, and they're very smart in how they do this. This is very coordinated. So a lot of the strategies and practices of the past don't necessarily work, and we have to be even more strategic in how we do that. And as a result, that requires far more resources that we've ever had to use before. So with that, when you hear us talk about resources, it's because they know that they're trying to utilize our resources where historically we would put them in one centralized place, whether it's in a major city or some historic part of the city. It's now dispersed all over the city in an attempt to splinter off and to get us to pay our attention in different places, so it appears as though we have less resources and we're outnumbered. That's what happened on Saturday when it went from peaceful to disruptive last night. The reality is there's only so much that we can do with what we had. We had more bodies yesterday, but there's very specific resources that are needed to not only make sure we address, one, that we can get there safely, 2, that we can get there and address the issue and make enforcement, make arrests as needed. But once those buildings are left insecure, we also need resources to come in and stay there. And what happened yesterday is that we were there, we addressed it, and then we could only stay for so long, and we had to leave, and then it rekindled all over again. So in answer to your question, resources is about resources. And having the ability to get ahead of what's happening. I think we will be there. We'll get better. I think we get better with time, but it changes each and every day. So we can Monday morning quarterback all day, but you never know what you're going to get. There's no crystal ball.
You say it was coordinated. Have you been able to identify any groups? Obviously, it's very early at this point that that may have coordinated some of these arson fires on at least Saturday? I know Sunday was more in the neighborhood and seemed more spontaneous, according to...
It's still too early to tell, but I will say in an attempt to do that, and not even necessarily groups, we are attempting to work with our partners to identify specific individuals who might be known agitators to incite these to incite riots within these groups. So there's a lot of work behind the scenes going on as well as investigations-wise.
And Commissioner, following up on Chad's question, do you feel that you now have control? And at what point do you think that you're able to gain control?
I think anyone who says we have control of an unknown situation is just flat out arrogant. We don't know what we're going to be dealing with, and it continues to unfold each and every day. We don't know what we have until we get there, so all we can do is be as prepared as we can. And like I said, the more resources that we have, the better prepared we'll be. Pat, you had a question?
It seems to be a very large section of your resources devoted to protecting the statue. Why is that?
We're not, I've just put this out there, we're not protecting a statue. We are there to maintain the core of the city. It's the MSB building. It's where all the city functions and operations are. We forget that we still have to operate as a city. There's a lot of important information in there, a lot of critical infrastructure. And so while optically it looks like we're protecting a statue, and if you notice we weren't standing anywhere near the statue, we're protecting the facility itself.
But some were questioning how on Saturday you didn't have a heavier police presence on Walnut, where it's our high-end district shopping. That's like the area where you're going to have really looting stores. That's a prime location. And why you maybe didn't have an increased police presence, according to...
I addressed that yesterday. This is the last time I'm going to talk about it. I would have liked to have been a little bit more prepared than we were. As time progressed, it got better. We're on a different day. Today is Monday. Like I said, it's changing as continued resources continue to come in. I can't live in Saturday. All we can do is debrief after each incident, make sure we continue to build upon what we've learned, and replicate what we know works well.
One more for the commissioner. One more.
Were there any no-response zones over the weekend?
What do you mean by a no-response zone?
Some cities have no-response zones where if you called 911, police were not able to go there because...
No, I would never label anything as a no-response zone. Now we would have had slower response times after an inability to get there as soon as the call was dispatched. But we made it to, I believe, every call we were dispatched to, not necessarily in the amount of time that we'd have liked to gotten there.
Mayor, is the city entering the yellow phase on Friday?
Well, we're scheduled to enter it. Certainly things have happened in the meantime that have created some obstacles to doing that. I can't announce right now that we're not, but if you look at all we're tied up with, pandemic, depression, civil unrest, and election, there's only so much energy and resources that we have. So I'm not saying no, but I'm not saying yes either.
Can you fill us in about what conversations you had with the governor?
Yeah, I mean, the governor's helpful and wants to be helpful and makes an effort to be helpful and is asking for what we need. And we told him, as the commissioner said, resources. We need bodies. We need people. And what happens is that we get this cooperation agreement, and we have people come in, say from Delaware County or from Montgomery County, and then while they're here, something blows over there, and they got to pull back and go over there. I mean, it's really frustrating and difficult to follow all this around. And yesterday, for example, as I said, 52nd and Chestnut. I mean, if we had moved any of those folks away from there, the rest of the officers there would have been overwhelmed, overrun, and they were doing their best to hold on as it is. I mean, these are people that are destroying cars, setting cars on fire, throwing bricks at police officers, throwing chemicals in people's face. It's an ugly bunch, and we're doing our best to do that. And one of the things that the commissioner did mention is the volume of calls. I think it's 3,000 or so on a regular day. We had 18,000 calls in one day. I mean, there's absolutely no way 18,000 calls are going to be responded to in an efficient manner.
Are you worried that the election sites are going to be targets of this unrest?
I'm worried about everything. I'm worried about people's safety. I'm worried about... I haven't slept much, to tell you the truth. I'd be worried about looking at my ceiling a lot at night, so we're worried about everything.
The president said Philadelphia is a mess on the call with government.
Well, the president should know a mess when he sees... because he is a mess. And he's brought nothing to this. He's brought no help, nothing. So, all he knows how to do is tweet and create division, and it's enough. It's really enough.
Can you
Mayor,
provide
the
clarity?
attorneys and Republicans today said that city leaders
Yeah.
didn't do their jobs effectively.
Look, we're in the middle of one of the biggest crises in the city's history. If all that Pat Toomey could offer is a political press conference, then that shows you what he cares about the city and about the state. And I'm surprised Pat Toomey can find Philadelphia, frankly, because he doesn't do much for us.
Thank you.
Thank you.